In the 11th James Bond film Moonraker, there is a scene where 007 must do battle with the steel-toothed henchman Jaws atop a cable car. Bond and his co-star escape by ziplining along the wires, with Jaws pursuing, but because the cable car was sped up to such a degree that it can no longer brake, he smashes through a building into some nearby product placement. The super-strong villain is trapped under the weight of a giant wheel. Despite his inhuman abilities, he's unable to free himself properly. Fortunately for him, a local pigtailed blonde lady is there and utilizes her own science-defying physical strength to aid this trapped soul. With the danger vanquished, the pair take a moment to look at each other, truly for the first time. There's a spark, both locked in a sheepish gaze. Will she like me? Will he like me? What could possibly bond this mismatched twosome? He coquettishly smiles, revealing his mouthful of steel teeth. Huzzah, the young lady thinks, smiling back, revealing her own set of silvery-coated gnashes. Just the icebreaker the couple needs. They take each other's hands, and within days, they are side by side on a genocidal mission to outer space. Or at least, that's the version of events that takes place in some people's minds when they're misremembering this scene. Welcome to the Myths of James Bond, a series where we take a look at some of the larger public misconceptions surrounding the world of 007. Today we're going to be talking about one of the more widely acknowledged myths in the Bond canon, concerning one of the least significant characters in the series. And can I just start this off by saying that I find it really weird that this myth still persists to this day amongst the fan culture. For the longest time, I wasn't intending to make a video on this. DutchBondFans has already made a video on the subject of the Mandela Effect in relation to this scene. There's a great article on the MI6 HQ website about this, and I just thought in this day and age where the films are available in a really great quality in HD, heck, even in 4K now, I didn't think that this would be such a hotly debated subject. But a while ago on the MI6 HQ account on Twitter, they made a joke about Dolly's braces, and some of the responses were quite surprising. Some seemed to think that Dolly at one point actually genuinely had braces, and that they'd been removed from modern versions of the film for some reason. This is of course not true. Not only does it not make any sense that the distributors would go back and change such an innocuous thing about the film while leaving in errors in the special effects work that would be more deserving of a CGI touch-up, but the Bond series has never really gone George Lucas on itself, and the films more or less stand as they always have, barring errors in the restoration processes here and there. Yet despite Dolly never having had braces, the fake memory persists amongst many people. This collective misremembering is of course known as the Mandela Effect, named after Nelson Mandela, after a study found that a large amount of people all misremembered that that man had died in the 1980s when he hadn't. And I'm not going into the details of the Mandela Effect here. Some of the theories branch off into alternate timelines and dimensions and such, and while I believe that if there are indeed an infinite number of dimensions out there, there probably is one or two where Dolly did indeed have braces, we do not live in one of those dimensions. So why do people still think this? Well, I kind of think it's like, you know, there's that thing where if you take a word and jumble up the letters in the middle of the word, but the first and last letter of the word are still the same as when it is spelt correctly, your brain still reads the word at a glance as being the original word. I feel like it's something like that that's happening in relation to this scene, because so much about this scene leads you to believe that there is going to be a big reveal moment, and indeed that big reveal should be something to do with the character's teeth. The language of the editing, the timing of the music, the focus of the shots, it suggests that these two are kind of eyeing each other up, but it's only when they start beaming smiles at each other that the moment reaches its climax, and we're supposed to buy that the two have, you know, fallen in love at first sight. Given how jokey Moonraker is in so many other aspects, it wouldn't be out of place at all for Dolly's lips to part to reveal a mouthful of steel. As it is, the sequence doesn't really have a punchline. The music builds and builds to a point, but nothing out of the ordinary is revealed. I think it's a case of an audience's mind preempting a gag, and because the punchline to this setup and sequence of shots is so obvious, they should be bonding over their teeth. They both smile at each other and then they go and off holding hands. I mean, yet there are no braces to be found. It ends up being misremembered by a vast amount of the audience. Funnily enough, there's another scene in Moonraker that I have a similar relationship with, and I know that other people have had this same misconception too. It's Drax playing the piano earlier in the film, and it's one of the shots that introduces us to the main villain, and the camera sweeps around him while playing the piano, and for the longest time I remembered this as being that Drax isn't isn't playing the piano, he's just hovering his hands over the keys while a recording plays. And I know that other people have had this same false memory too, and maybe it's because of the quality of the film that we watched it on back in the day, VHS, and on a smaller screen and all that kind of stuff, and the quality just wasn't so good, so you didn't pick up on the fact that his fingers are in fact touching the keys, and he's indeed playing the piano. Or maybe it's just a similar case of your mind processes the camera work, the staging, what these shots are doing, and it jumps to what the obvious conclusion is, that there must be some kind of visual gag there. Why would you spend the time lingering the camera over someone's hands playing the piano when musicality has nothing to do with Drex for the rest of the film? Why would you choose to crescendo music over the shots of people smiling at each other, a man with steel teeth, if the lady's teeth are just normal looking? I guess there's no answer to these things, really. It might have just never occurred to the filmmakers, or maybe it occurred to them long after they could have done anything about it. There isn't much out there of like the filmmakers talking about this scene, but it is interesting listening to the audio commentary for the film with director Lewis Gilbert and screenwriter Christopher Wood talking about the scene. There's no mention of braces at all, but Gilbert seems to hint that it's actually their varying heights that is the cause of them falling in love.
And the idea that she has to be sort of tiny.
Well, that's what he wanted.
It's based on a certain truth, by the way, because
Yes.
Richard's wife is not exactly a big girl.
She's lovely, this girl, though, isn't she? She's so sweet.
Well, I suppose it's family entertainment, isn't it? Well, I suppose it's family entertainment, isn't it?
If that was really the filmmakers' intentions, I wish it had been conveyed more clearly. The shots that we have in the film, the emphasis on Jaws' teeth with the light glistening off of them, the music crescendoing as the pair smile at each other, it's all conveying that teeth, the smiles are important, and I guess that they're not, it's the height. So, well, okay, there we go. Even after all this time, though, the misconception persists, and I'm sure it will do for many more years to come. Maybe one day Eon will slip in an altered shot in a one-off TV airing sometime to mess with people. I know I'd do it if I was in their position. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel and you would like to stay up to date on future Myths of James Bond videos, then please go below to the subscribe button and click there to subscribe. I also upload in-depth Bond movie reviews to this channel, reviews of the games, books, but anything you can kind of think of that is James Bond. I am planning to, or would like to be recommended, stuff to talk about, so please do subscribe to this channel if you're a James Bond fanatic like me and many of the other people who watch this channel, and you can stay up to date on future video uploads. Also below there are links to my various social media pages, so there is my Twitter page, my Facebook page, and my Patreon page for those of you who want to go one extra step in supporting this channel. All that being said, until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.
Well, I suppose it's family entertainment, isn't it?